Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special Astro Weather Report here. Today, I have the Vedic astrologer extraordinaire, Joe from Guiding Star Astrology, here with us to talk all about the eclipses. Hello, Joe, and welcome.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here. It's been a while, so I'm really happy that we got back on track to the most important things in our life.
It is so great to have you back, and especially have you back to talk about such a big topic as these eclipses that are coming up. They look very powerful.
They look very powerful, and it seems like it has been a coincidence. I don't think we planned it, but we seem to get back together always on eclipses, which is very interesting how this worked out by its own.
Yes,
and,
well, you have your nodes on Pisces Virgo axis, and I'm a Pisces Virgo, Pisces rising. So perhaps there's something in those nodes falling there in our synastry chart, perhaps, that draws us together on eclipses.
I think so, and also because South Node especially is astrology. Whenever I mean, the most prominent astrologers, they have a very strong South Node, in the sense that it's either with their ascendant or on their ascendant, or it's a combination of all of them through rulership. So I'm putting astrology on your ascendant, basically. So yeah, you bet. It's
perfect. We're a perfect match.
I think so, and I'm really happy to do that. And yeah, these eclipses, I think everybody has been talking about the eclipses. And of course, we need to look at them in the context, my technique and what we want to add here, because it's all about adding. We don't want to dismiss any other theories. It's all about let's just add something, a new thing to the interpretations that we already know. We all know, we always have eclipses. Every 6 months we have an eclipse, right? So it's not something new. It's not something that all the eclipses are going to change our lives. The whole story about the eclipses and what they want to do is actually to take us a step further in our evolution, because the eclipses are only created when the nodes are involved. These are the nodes of the moon. The interesting thing is that we have, or we can calculate nodes of all the planets, right? But we are focusing on the moon, because the sun and the moon, they are the ones, the astral bodies that we can actually really see with the naked eye, and they make us go to bed and wake up in the morning. I mean, it's a whole, so it makes sense
that we illuminate our lives. The moon at night and the sun during the day, they are the illuminators. So there's so much revealed at an eclipse about our lives, because it's the luminaries that are always involved in the eclipses. Sorry to interrupt. You keep going.
No, please. I mean, we have an open chat here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why eclipses are relevant. But again, we need to take it with a pinch of salt, and we need to take it in context. What I have been found for the last years that I've been practicing astrology was very enlightening when I discovered the Bernadette Brady Saros cycles.
She's a wonderful teacher.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. This is something that it was introduced to me by Ernst, of course, our teacher, and I find it to work very well. And I find it very important not to take the eclipses out of their context, right? Because the Saros cycle is a 1200-year cycle. It takes 700 years to get to the full moon, and then it's going to be waning, just like a new moon, full moon that we have every month. So that's relevant and important. Now, this eclipse, and that's what I want to put in the context, is all about the initial one, because that's where we start. When this cycle started, it was a Plutonian eclipse, okay? It was a combination.
This is the first eclipse. The solar eclipse on the 14th or 15th, depending where you are in the world. Yeah.
14th, 15th of October, the solar eclipse that falls in Libra at 21 degrees, this one. Now, the context of this series, because both of them are in the same series, we don't take the solar and the lunar, they are not in different series, they are in the same series, but they have a completely different purpose in our life. The solar eclipse is saying, okay, end of a cycle, new beginning. The full moon or the lunar eclipse is saying okay, this is a culmination where you get what you've been doing for the last 18 years. That's also very relevant and important. In the context of any eclipse, you always need to go back 18 years when the same eclipse was there, the same Siri was there, and that was a step in your evolution. And now this step is going to do, again, an ending of a cycle and a fruition of something that you've been building for the last 18 years. Don't take them out of the context. Of course, there will be eclipses on the same sign every 9 years, but again, because the north nodes are going to be there, but it's going to be a completely different series. So again, now what is going on with this eclipse? The initial one was a combination of a square of Saturn Mars with Pluto. Okay,
in the
Saturn
original
Mars
chart of the eclipse, yeah.
So that's where we identify the theme of this eclipse. What is this eclipse going to do? What it wants from us in our evolution? And as humans, I mean, if you look at it, as humans, we started with no wheels and now we are flying, right? I mean, this was all evolution. It's all because of these eclipses. We cannot stand still as humans. It's our nature. We need to move on, hope, dream, you know,
expand and evolve. Yeah.
And some of this part of this process is also to let things go, because if we don't let something go, we cannot move further, right? It's always, you cannot be in two places at once. You cannot be in the ocean and in the air. That's our human limitation. So that means that if you want to fly, you need to get out of the water and get on a plane, right? I mean, it's that easy. We are not birds that can go into water and flying. So this eclipse, what it wants is literally saying, okay, we have we feel stuck for 18 years. We've been stuck in something, Mars, Saturn, that creates a push-pull. Okay, Saturn wants to take the time, Mars wants to solve problems. Whenever, even if you have in your natal chart a Saturn-Mars combination, you are going to recognize yourself as always being a little bit agitated, let's say, not agitated, but more
pressure,
in a pressure type of
fizzing,
like a bubbling kind of way, that you always feel stressed in some way. And then Pluto is like, you know, the little guy with the matches, and it's like, and then it's gonna be right. So it's Pluto is very transformational, and I know that we always fear Pluto when it's coming, because we always think like, oh, what is going to happen now? And it's true. I mean, Pluto can be quite intense. Let's put it like this. But it's what we need to get unstuck. Basically, is that match that, and you know, something that has been boiling and we felt that we are stuck. This is the eclipse that says, and it can be quite because of this Plutonian influence here. And we also have in this eclipse, we have a square from Pluto, okay, directly to the eclipse. Pluto is at 27 degrees and it's very close to 21 degrees. So what is relevant here? We need to get unstuck. We know that we need to get unstuck. It's never pleasant to let things go, but there's no more trying, no more, we don't have a chance anymore, right? So if you have any planetary bodies at 21 degrees Libra, or in your chart anywhere, it's relevant. It's going to be important and relevant. Maybe the one in 2005, I don't remember exactly the degrees where it was. Maybe you didn't felt that one in a very heavy way because that one was at different degrees. And now this one comes closer to your planet. So that's going to be much more relevant, okay? It's good to get unstuck. We also have what is very interesting in Vedic astrology. We consider planets that are ruled by the same planet to be secondary conjunction. So what we have here,
sorry to interrupt, what do you mean planets that are ruled by the same planet?
So in this case, with this solar eclipse, we also have Jupiter Uranus in Taurus,
yes,
right? They are also ruled by Venus, where we have the eclipse, which is in Libra.
Yeah.
they are not in the same sign. Libra is Libra and Taurus in Taurus. They have completely different purposes, right?
Yes.
Libra is all about the trade and the interactions and what we have. What does a trade mean in general for all of us, right? It's all about these diplomatic relationships and all that. There's an ending there. We all have been feeling, I guess, in the world with everything that is happening, something is boiling, right? And we were stuck. We are still stuck somehow, right? But now we have these Jupiter-Uranus that are in Taurus, that are actually secondary conjunction because they are both ruled by Venus.
Yes, yes. So the eclipse
right? So
is ruled by Venus, and this other conjunction of the two planets in Taurus is also ruled by Venus. Thank you. Yeah.
So we can consider Jupiter and Uranus conjuncting this eclipse, okay? Which is actually, so yes, the eclipse is intense. There are heavy things happening, intense things happening. We know that we need to get unstuck. And now Jupiter and Uranus, they are actually conjunct and they are going to help, right? Because Jupiter is Jupiter and Uranus is actually who we really are. Uranus is I love Uranus. It's such a original, unique planet. And whenever it comes in, just like a lightning, and especially when it's conjunct Jupiter, you just know what you have to do. And that eases everything because, you get unstuck in a way that empowers you as well, because you know how, and you just know what you have to do. That's it. The only thing that helps is to trust your intuition. Don't hold on to whatever you've been holding on, because it's not working anymore. So the more you hold on, the more painful it's going to be. You need to let it go. Just, that's a new moon, a new cycle. It hasn't been working. You have to start again all over, right?
Yes,
so that's good.
Eclipse with the South Node, so it's very much about releasing something in order that a new beginning can start, for sure.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, the concept of South Node, North Node, to put it very simplistic, in Vedic astrology, it means the South Node is about something that you think you remember, because you have like this faded memory of this is how things should be, because it comes from something that you already know and you've done in a past lifetime, so you are familiar with it, like for example mathematics or whatever. But still, we are still born on earth and we still don't know how to count. Wouldn't it be amazing to know mathematics from a past lifetime, right? To just come back with a memory, but it doesn't work like that, right? So you have a faded idea that you know how things should work. And the North Node is all about assuming something, right? So it's an assumption of things. You also don't know. It's also very vague, but you are assuming, and you always say, yeah, I will never, ever, because, your memory tells you never drink milk. And then the North Node says, yeah, I have an assumption that milk is bad, and something happens with eclipses, and then you suddenly don't drink necessarily cow milk, but you drink goat milk, and it's actually good for you, and it gets you out of a healthy situation because, it has different nutrients. And this is how eclipses work. They take us out of what we think we know, and they take us to something that we assumed it was working in a way, but it's suddenly, it shows that it's not working in how we assumed it was working. That's the whole idea. And that's why, I think, we had some eclipses that were in their nature, like the last ones, in their nature, they were better for, for nicer eclipses, let's say, nicest series, which, the last one was about falling in love, and it was a little bit more, it was softer, the whole series itself. And now we have a transformational one with Pluto that I think it's actually much more empowering, and I think it will get us in a better place. At least I'm hoping, because at least what we are seeing is everybody is a little bit on the edge. I don't know about you, but lately, at least for the last 6 months, it was very, like we are walking on eggshells somehow.
Yeah. Everybody's getting triggered by everything, and it's just awful. It's awful. It feels like somebody's about to light the match, and
yes,
the spluttering thing is going towards the powder keg because people feel explosive at the moment and reactive.
Yeah, it's like we are sitting on a barrel of gunpowder,
Yep, exactly.
And yeah, there are many things happening here. I don't know if we should, for example, what I would like to say, because it's not going to be, again, it's for some people, for most of people, it's just going to pass by just like any other eclipse, because you don't have, you don't have angles there. It's relevant. For angles, it's relevant. If you have especially the moon or the sun, so sun Aries people, very relevant. You have moon in Libra, very relevant. You have sun in Libra, very relevant. You have, for example, Cancer and Leo ascendants. It's always relevant. The eclipses, all of the eclipses are relevant for them, because we do not have another point of transit, because, sun and moon, they transit so fast. We don't have something very relevant, like, for example, for Aquarius people, we will always look what Saturn is doing, because it's their body. We need to know where it's in transit, but it's a completely different interpretation. But this is relevant if it's in angles. So Aries ascendant, Libra ascendant, very important. Also for Cancer, because it's going to be their 4th house, very relevant, right? For Capricorn people, very relevant is the 10th house, very relevant, very important. On top of this, what you can do, because this is in essence, this eclipse chart, it's a transit chart, you can combine it, what we talked before, you can also combine it with your solar return chart, okay, and see how the eclipse fits in that chart as well. And you will see, you will always find the connections. So if it falls, also for example, for the angles, for the 1st and the 7th, these are also not only relationships. I know that we always focus on a relationship, but the 1st and the 7th house, it's always about your path in life, and it can include your job as well. The 7th house is the 4th. From the 4th, if it falls somehow, if you have, for example, in Libra, the ruler of your 7th house, right? That's going to be extremely relevant, because now the ruler of the 7th house in your natal chart finds this eclipse. So even if it doesn't fall, you don't have ascendant in Aries, but you have the ruler of your 7th house, very relevant. Things are changing there. It's important. You get unstuck in some way. You have the ruler of your 2nd house, you get unstuck financially. Very important. Also with the moon and Jupiter are financial planets, both of them. Yeah, it's very important, very relevant. So I don't know if maybe now we should go through one by one where this
Let's
this
do it. Yeah. Did you want to share screen perhaps, or?
I think maybe, because we can do this, but that's going to be again something very general, and I would rather give you more tools, or give people more tools to identify how this eclipse, how to see it in their chart and how it works, because it's very relevant. And again, what I want to point out, and it's very important, go back to 2015. It's not going to be the same event. 2005, sorry. 2005. So October 2005. Again, it doesn't have to be the exact same event, because it's not the same chart. So it's not the same event. At the time, planets were in a different place and they were doing different things. Saturn was not in Pisces. Jupiter was not in. So don't see it as, oh my God, I moved at that time, now I'm going to move again. Maybe it could be, but not necessarily. So there is something else going on over there, right? So that's relevant and that's important. That's what the new moon and the sun want to do. The sun is going to be eclipsed. We don't see it. So it's going to be, it can be for a little while, it can be a little bit scary, because we don't know us. So we are left at the mercy of Jupiter and Uranus, which are, I think, quite prominent and very helpful. So, just trust your intuition and be very careful be aware of what you dream, what you hear, omens. Some people don't believe in them, but sometimes they are, especially with Uranus, they are so in your face that it's impossible not to see them. It's just going to be like that. So that's the lunar one, the solar one. The lunar one I really like. It's very, very, very wonderful. Oh, what I wanted to say about the solar one, Venus is going to be debilitated in Virgo and in opposition
both of the eclipses, and Venus rules both of the eclipses. So Very
The
interesting.
second eclipse, not really. Venus just gets out of debilitation because it's at 18 degrees, and Venus is debilitated only between 0 and 15 degrees Virgo.
In Virgo, okay.
But it's still going to be a little bit weak.
Yeah.
The lunar one is actually interesting because it's all, when you look at aspects, it's all trines and sextiles. So it's all, you know, aspects. I don't see them necessarily as creating context, but I see them as how things are going to happen.
Yes, easy or hard. Yeah, and this one with the wise is easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's going to be a nice, even Saturn, even, you know, nasty Pluto. It's going to be in a, yeah, it's going to be in a nice combination. But what happens here with the lunar eclipse is that we are going to have, this is going to be 5 degrees of Scorpio, and the moon, where the lunar eclipse falls in, is going to be in Taurus at 5 degrees. Yeah. So this is a 5 degrees. If you have anything connected to 5 degrees in your chart, or you have something between 0 and 10 degrees of Scorpio or Taurus, very relevant, very important. Even if it's your 6th house, doesn't matter. It's going to be relevant because you have a planet there, or your 6th house starts at 6 degrees. So that means literally if you have your 6th house in Taurus at 6 degrees where the moon is, what it means is that it's going to put something, just as an example, right? Is going to give you the fruits of something that you've been working on regarding your health, your daily routine, your you know, fixed ideas on what I should be doing, and how my work should look like, and how my day should look like. And there always has been the assumption that if you wake up at 8 o'clock and you come back at 9 o'clock, you had that assumption. And now what this lunar eclipse is saying, yeah, but look at the fruits of this. You don't have a private life. Now it's time to change your daily routine. Yeah. And it's saying, now it's time to do, so for a Sagittarius rising person, right, that has their 6th house there, it's going to say, no, look, it's not working. It's time to face your fears and, you know, give up this kind of daily routine because it's not working. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your state of mind. Now you are burned out and depressed. That's the fruit of what your assumption has been. You see, that's just an example. Yeah. For, I don't know why I picked Sagittarius all of a sudden, but probably I don't know, connected to my Mercury.
There's bound to be somebody who that's going to be relevant for, who's a Sagittarius. So
I hope so, yeah. Or, you know, a health routine. You know, you always thought that if you go every day to the gym, that was all your assumption, you're going to be healthy. And now suddenly this eclipse comes in, and it can be an event that, for example, doesn't let you go to the gym anymore because you have to do something else. And through that, you realize that, wait a second, that actually has been ruining my knees. And now I have to go to the doctor because my tendons are completely, you know, weakened. It's not that it's a good or a bad thing. It's just that in order for us to evolve, we cannot do what we've been doing for 18 years. We need to do something else. It's the law of evolution. We cannot, otherwise we would have stayed without wheels until now if we didn't need to evolve, right? Yeah. Somebody at one point had an eclipse on their chart and said, I'm not going to walk anymore. I'm going to invent a freaking wheel and I'm going to make a bicycle because I cannot walk anymore. I'm going crazy with walking, right? That's but this is the series of eclipse that is all about that. We have other series that are about getting ideas or inventing something. They are about, you know, falling in love or getting sick, or, you know, there's like the theme, and that's why I don't want to take it out of context. This lunar eclipse, the initial one, was with Saturn moon. That means it's all about facing fears. So if you always were afraid of something, to do something, and you said, I'm never going to ever do that, now this eclipse comes in and says, but why do you have that strong fear? Whenever we are so adamant of saying that about something, it means that there's a fear back down there. Yes. that either makes us overcompensate or being afraid of doing something. So now it's the time, for example, for Aquarius people, if it falls in your fourth house, which it does, because the moon is there and the fourth house and Taurus, I'm picking out this example, because first of all, it's an angle, then the moon is there, it's the fourth house, and it's about Taurus. If you thought like, I will never, move and live on rent, I always want to own my house. That was always your assumption, that if you don't own a house, you are a loser. Now this eclipse comes in, and through some events, depending on what planets you have there or how this eclipse aspects probably your seventh house, now suddenly, this has been building up for a year or so, and now suddenly you meet somebody, or your partner says, I have to move for work, and suddenly you find yourself living on rent and you have to sell your house. Although, you had always a fear of that, and now you have to let it go. You have to face your fear, and that's it. You have to, or if you were, for example, for Aries people, finances, if you are always afraid of, spending money or giving money or whatever it is regarding finances, that you don't have money to invest or any of the sort, this eclipse will say, yeah, face your fears. You have to, sell your house and get the money in that way. With Taurus, it's all about finances. It's all about finances. And this is something that I think is going to happen in the world as well. With Taurus as well, I think we got stuck in assumptions that we had about how we spend our money, what is valuable to us.
And what we do with our resources too, yeah.
With our resources, where do we get our money? What is going on? We have seen inflation going through the roof. It's going to be even worse. Jupiter is not happy in any Venus sign, but Jupiter is Jupiter, so let's give it to Jupiter. And it's going to be retrograde, which I love. It's fantastic. It's going to be stronger. It's going to be closer to Earth, so it can help a lot. But still, Jupiter in Venus ruled sign is going to want to get earthly things that are not necessarily valuable. And now with this lunar eclipse, this is going to say, look, our assumption that if I have, I don't know what car, and I don't know what hair color, and I don't know what, now it's a boom on plastic surgery, right? Or if I have this, that, and the other, I'm going to be loved, or there's an assumption there that the more I do these earthly things, the more love I get. And now this eclipse comes and says, because it's so transformational and facing fears, now it's going to say, it's going to show you that assumption was not right. And now we will need to change somehow the direction. It's not going to happen overnight, but we will need to change the idea of what we eat, what we spend our money, what is valuable. Housing market, I don't think, because of this dignity of Jupiter, I think it's going to be stressful, but I think it's going to work out, and we are going to get out of this kind of bubble. Yeah. But it has been a financial focus, and it's still going to be a financial focus. This is the last eclipse.
6 months, would you say, or
6 months to a year? 6 months to a year. The tricky thing is here with this eclipse is that all the free will earthly planets where we actually can do something with them, which is Mercury, which is talking, communication, traveling, all that. Venus, which is, another earthly planet that makes us enjoy life with earthly things. And Mars, which is also our will and our power and what we have to do. With this eclipse, Mercury, Mars are combust. We don't see them. So that creates us humans. We can be a little bit more, we don't have Mercury and Mars at our hand.
This is for the lunar eclipse?
That's for the lunar eclipse. Yep. So they will be in Scorpio.
Yep.
Mercury, Mars, and the Sun, they will be in Scorpio. So what it means, us humans, Mercury is, we can talk our way out of things, right? That's Mercury. When it becomes combust, there's this incompatibility. So basically, we cannot talk our way out of it. Mars is combust as well, which means we don't see it. It has no power with us. So we don't have the option of fight or flight. It's literally, you feel like You can't do anything with Mars, basically. That's the planet of doing, right?
Yeah.
And then Venus is in Virgo, just out of debilitation. So he's getting a little bit stronger, getting out of debilitation, but it's not that strong. So Venus, it's still us, our how do I call it? Our solution to enjoy life is not there. We don't have the willpower, and we cannot talk our way out of it. Yes. So, we are on our human willpower. We are a little bit left on Jupiter Uranus, which is great. Yes. I love Jupiter Uranus. It's a wonderful combination. Yep. So we need to let Jupiter Uranus do their thing. And Uranus is all about our individuality, how we are really, who we really are. It's the higher octave of the sun. Yeah, there's Jupiter and the sun. It's the higher octave. And then we have a sextile from Saturn and in Pisces, which is good, but we will need to take the time because Saturn is involved here. We need to, and it's ruled by Jupiter. So you see, again, there's a very strong connotation, and this Jupiter is very important. We need to let as well Saturn do his job and take the time, and just with this lunar
endurance and stoicism,
and face our fears. Basically, don't be, and we will realize that, oh my God, I've been afraid of this all my life, and it's actually, I'm free now. It's that feeling of freedom. But again, and I'm not saying let's manage expectations. It's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm saying that the results are good, and that these are going to be very positive events because they get us unstuck and they get us free from our fears. What more do we want to be happy? That's it, right? That was the definition of happiness, absence of misery, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a good definition. Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as we get free and unstuck, I think we are going to be in a better place,
Yeah.
And there are some eclipses. I think the one in June, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to say wrong things. That one is going to be a little bit more heavy because it has a connotation of taking care of elderly and sick people. So that's a focus on that, right? So I think it's needed for us to go to this evolutionary step now to face our fears and get unstuck in some things. Because, if you look further, you will see that's going to be needed. We need to get free of some things because our strength is going to be needed coming eclipses. And this is the last eclipse on the lunar one is the last on Scorpio Taurus.
Yes, that's right.
So now we are starting and another interesting thing and very important, that in astrology, we always work with opposite points, right? So if you have something heavy in one sign, the solution is always the opposite sign. So you need to do, if you are stressed in one sign, go do the other sign, you find the balance. That's also how we work with South Node and North Node. They are always on axis. You cannot take them out of their axis. The more you do one, the better it's going to be on the other one. You cannot get out of it. So that's the nature of eclipses as well. That's why it's always on axis. So keep in mind, if we get the good planets and what's happening now, it's Taurus. We need to focus on Taurus. Scorpio, with these combust planets there, they are going to be a little bit, so whatever Scorpio represents, it's all this, that Scorpio cannot digest. I think I mentioned this before. I found it very interesting. They live in caves, but they cannot digest their food. Scorpions, yeah. The animal Scorpio.
Yeah.
But they need to be in the light to digest the food in the sun.
Yeah, I think you have mentioned this before, but tell us again.
Yeah, but it's so fascinating to me because it's such a polarity with Scorpio. Scorpios need to stay in a cave, so they need to be hidden, they need to be protected. But it's so prominent that if they stay only there, they cannot leave because they need to go out in the sun to digest their food, otherwise they will die. So you see, it's the survival kind of Scorpio. It's all about survival kind of mode. Yeah. And now we need to be a little bit more out of the survival kind of mode and go more to the concrete things in life and put some emphasis there on how do we manage our resources foundings. How do we speak up? Taurus is also about the neck, you know.
Yeah.
People that haven't been speaking up. Now is the time. Speak up, you know, say what you want. You know, I know so many people, and I've been seeing this over and over again. Being afraid of saying anything, who they are. That's facing your fear. Now it's the time to face your fear and say what you want to say. We have been seeing this. I mean, I have been seeing it also all over the world, even in the movies, you know, all these people with diversity and speaking up and, you know, getting all these talks about, which is good, somehow going into the right direction, somehow exaggerating and going in the opposite. Everything that is on the extreme, it's never going to be healthy. Now it's time to find that balance, you know. So whatever has been too extreme, now we need to go back to the roots. And, you know, Taurus is a fixed sign. And
it's also,
you know,
to speak from the voice is to actually say your truth rather than being the keyboard warrior behind. That's a Gemini speaking up, isn't it?
yes.
Online, and, you know, leaving nasty comments on this post and that, and, you know, doing that sort of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. It's about saying what you need to say to the people that you need to say it to.
Facing your fears, basically. If you are afraid to speak up, and you know, you've always been a pleaser, and you never dare to ask for something, for example, now you realize that that's your resource. You know, it's a switch in, it's transforming the fear in a resource. You understand finally with this eclipse, and you have to let this eclipse, because of Jupiter and Uranus, you have to understand how to transform a fear that has been holding you back into a resource, actually. You see, that's the whole. And again, facing your fears, it's not easy. Yeah, it can be nasty, dirty, and you have to dig into, you know, that Scorpio kind of thing and get out of the light to feed yourself. And you have to understand that you are a resource to other people as well. And if you don't speak up, then other people are in deficit. You are trying, you know, forcing to and think for yourself that you are helping them, but you are actually not helping them at all, because what they need is actually to help you out, and that's their need. And when you speak up, you are actually in unleashing this whole set of values, basically. So, you know, and also, you know, Taurus, it's also about the set of values. And it's very important that we refocus our set of values for a longer time. It's a fixed sign, you know, Taurus. So, and we have been dealing with this the last eclipses. I mean, it was all about Aries and Taurus. We were redefining our inner needs, which is Scorpio. Scorpio is very inner focused. We were redefining that set of values, and now is the last chance, you know, and that's why this one is so transformative. And then we go, you know, to this axis of Aries and Libra, which is all about, you know, Aries, who you are and how you lead your life, and how you fit Libra in trading with other people, how your values fit. It's always going to be with these eclipses, after we redefined our values, it's going to be redefining how we interact with everything. But first, we need this Scorpio, Taurus kind of axis to redefine those values. And then we go out into the world with Libra and Aries and redefine the balance of how we interact with each other and how valuable we are. That's Libra. I'm me, I'm Aries, and now I'm interacting with you. So we have a trade. We are trading information. You have tomatoes, I have lettuce. Let's make a salad. How does that work? And it's not going to be easy. I mean, it's not ever always going to work. I mean, the next eclipses that we are going to have, 5 of them, they are going to, you know, redefine all of it. And then we start all over again for another 18 years, you know, so.
But I love that, what you've just shared, because that really puts what we've been through in the last 18 months with the set of eclipses in Taurus Scorpio into perspective about what it's been like on the big scale, the big picture view. And you know, everybody was all like, oh, the North Node in Aries is going to mean war, and look, it might, but I think that's missing the point. What you're talking about here is the soul growth of humanity that these eclipses and these nodes are going to bring about. I love it. I think this is fantastic because, and I've noticed the change in the interaction we're having with other people. It's my dynamic with others is completely different to what it was 18 months ago.
There you go. Yeah.
Because
the
my values have changed. Yeah, my values about what I treasure in a relationship with other people or in an interaction on as a in a trade and buy and sell and all that sort of thing. My values have changed, so my interactions are now. Oh, look, you're perfect. That is so great.
Yeah, and each series of eclipses, it has its own purpose, and we have a very small little role. But we need to understand it in the context, right? Don't take it out of the context. And I think transformational, maybe because I'm a Scorpio rising, I love transformation. I find it so empowering and so enriching, rather than you know, maybe because I'm a workaholic as well. But again, you know, rather than staying home, you know, or staying on a beach drinking wine.
I mean, we incarnated to grow and evolve. That's
it.
If we don't transform, then what's the point of incarnation? So I agree.
Yeah. And so those are that's my message. Transformational eclipse. First is solar is with Pluto, very Plutonian. It's gonna be a bit of a rocky. Lunar one is all about Jupiter, Uranus, love it. And it's all trines and sextiles. So don't worry about it. It's going to work out. You need to face your fears, get unstuck, and look back 18 years. So, you know, just like the example we gave with Aquarius, if 18 years ago you bought your first house, now this eclipse comes in and says, maybe you are selling this house, but now because you took that step, you were at a crossroads at that point. And what I've seen over and over again, this eclipse, especially in 2005, had us in a crossroad. We had to make a choice. For one reason or the other, life put us in a situation where we had to make a choice. It might have been a very easy choice, very subtle choice, but we made a choice that time. And now, because you made that choice, now you have the opportunity, because of the choice, to do something bigger or to move, or, you know, like that example that I gave. Let's say you bought your first house, then now you are selling it. That will give you the opportunity to move on with your life and move to another place, which is again a crossroads. So I think it's relevant.
Can I give an example? Because this eclipse, we were talking before this video, before I pressed record, we were talking about the fact this eclipse is falling with my moon. So we had a look at the chart, and it's going to bring about we feel change of location and home and domestic situation because with my moon. So back in 2005, I had a 6-month-old baby, and my then husband and I were like, well, do we want to have more kids or not? And the answer was, well, yes, we would like more than one child, and I'd like to be home to help raise the kids while they're little, at least. So we have to sell the house that we had built together and lived in for 7 years and buy something cheaper and something more in our budget so that I would be able to stay at home and would be able to have more children. And that was the crossroads we were at. Do we sell our house and have more kids, or do we stay where we're at and just have the one child? And we chose to sell and have more children, which I'm very, very glad that we did. But it's so interesting that, you know, now we're talking about, okay, that 18 years has passed.
He's going out of the house, which will allow you to move to another house.
That's right. So I was just piecing bits together there because we'd been talking about what this eclipse might bring. And then when we look back 18 years ago, you can see the connections and how it all flows into one another. So check out your diaries, everybody, and see what you were up to in October 2005, because it has a bearing.
Yeah, and you know what I find extremely fascinating is how come we become mature or adults officially. I know that in US it's 21, but in Europe, all over the place, it's 18. How come we finish high school at 18? We start university at 18. It's because North Nodes and because this evolution. It's an 18 cycle, an 18-year cycle. It was always, you know, fascinating how this 18 comes into play in so many things in our lives. And why, you know, the question was, why 18, you know? Well, that's why.
Yeah, it's
because
amazing.
we are born somehow we are born closer to an eclipse, all of us, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be the day of the eclipse, but we are born under an eclipse, and then 18 and a half years later we are ending that cycle, and we started again.
yeah.
And it's
And
so
it's a real
fascinating.
maturation, isn't it? That 18-year stage, that 18-year cycle. I always wondered growing up, why 18 and why 21? And 21 is the quarter of Uranus and its cycle. So
Also, and it's the maturation of the sun.
Yes. So 21 is very, very important. Let's not discount that. But yeah, I'm
Very
noticing, like, I have this 18-year-old who reached his 18th birthday last set of eclipses that we had in May. And I just see how much he's grown and matured and come into himself since his 18th birthday. It's just amazing to see, when you know astrology, how the cycles outwork themselves and play
how
out.
they work. Yeah. But that's the same thing with us. Every eclipse, every 18 years, we become a little bit more, we go a little bit further in our evolution. We mature a little bit more. We get it more. We finally find some answers of why are we born here? Isn't it the question? That's the question, right?
That's the question
that we all human have. Why are we born? Well, that's why, because of north nodes and south node and the eclipses.
So powerful, aren't they? And Jo, what about the places where these eclipses are going to be visible? The solar eclipse is going to be seen throughout America, and it's actually on the same path as the 2017 eclipse, they called it the Great American Eclipse, but it will also be on the same path as the eclipse next April that is occurring across America as well. So that's the solar, and the lunar eclipse is going to be seen from pretty much everywhere except America. So
right. Yeah, so basically it literally, I mean, we all know that there has been instability all over the world, right? And we got stuck somehow. We are still in a stuck. Especially also US got stuck with many things. Also the financial crash, inflation is up, housing market, it's still going to go up. So it's still at a boiling point, right? So there will be a necessity to get unstuck. Okay, there's a big, a strong, and I don't know how people consider, the chart of the US. I know that all astrologers have different ideas on where it falls, the ascendant for the US and how to calculate that. So for each country we need to see and calculate, but especially for the US, this ending of a cycle and getting unstuck, it has to happen. And I think everybody's looking for it, and everybody knows that it's coming. Because of the square of Pluto with this eclipse, nobody's ready for it. It's going to be like a volcano that you are not ready for it. That's the whole nature of squares. But it's coming, and I think it's actually a good thing. The fact that the lunar eclipse is not visible there, that means that there's less Jupiterian, because Jupiter is very prominent with Uranus there. So there's going to be a little bit less of that kind of innate knowingness, and it's going to take longer to get to that point. But yet again, an eclipse is an eclipse. We are still on Earth. Even if it's not visible, it's still impacting Earth in the shadow. It's still going to be there, but it's going to take much longer to get the understanding of the lunar eclipse and the assumptions and facing fears. So the impact is going to be bigger on getting unstuck, which is going to be, and then it's going to take longer to understand why and to get on the right path, basically, because of not being visible. While the other world, the other part of the world, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be, okay, facing fears. We are happy to face fears because of all the sextiles and the trines. I love it. I mean, it's great. Yeah. Okay. The only thing is not to try to push. So Mercury and Mars being combust, every time that we try to push or try or say, but I want to have one more try, Mercury, this always our need to try something else. It's not visible, it's combust, it's not going to work. It's going to be incompatible with whatever you want to try. It's not going to work. So the harder you push, the more you're going to suffer. Don't push it. That's it. That's my You know, the easiest way to go through this eclipse is do not push it. Just sit back, face your fear, and don't try to do, you know, what was the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Not working, huh?
Exactly.
Not working.
So we've really got to We've got to flow. We've got to be very Saturn in Pisces, don't we? We've got to flow with whatever comes, Pisces, but we've got to be stoic and enduring.
Yeah.
Perfect combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, Jo, thank you so much. Did you want to share anything further?
No, I'm happy that I got to the message that I had. I actually had a few notes here, but I don't need them because, you know,
because you know it so
it's
well.
always so amazing to talk to you, and I get so much energy from talking to you. You know, our chats are always we can talk for hours,
And we
it's
do.
so enjoyable.
I love it. I love it. You know, I always learn something when I talk with you, Jo, and your level of astrological knowledge just blows my mind every time. I want to say to my audience watching this, if you haven't had a reading with Jo, you need to get a reading with Jo, because she is amazing, and she will show you things about your life and your path and who you are that you never, you know, the deep stuff. She's Scorpio rising for a reason. The deep stuff that you don't see, she will find it, she will see it, and she will show you. It is an amazing experience. Jo's my personal astrologer, for anybody who needs to know that. So I love having a session with Jo, because I always learn something new that's valuable and supportive of my life. So head to the astrology readings page and get your reading with Jo, because you will not be sorry. But get in quick, because you feel it fills up fast when her readings open up. But Jo, thank you so much for this time, sharing your insights about the 2 eclipses that are coming up. And I hope we can all navigate them, you know, in unity and in love, because we really want to build a better world out of whatever transpires here now, and better lives. So thank you for your time.
Better lives, and yeah, and you know, I always see it. We are all a team here on Earth. We are all in the same team. Let's help each other out. And you know, I've survived all the Scorpio Libra eclipses. This is the last one. I've survived. I'm alive. Hopefully wiser and better, but I'm actually looking forward to this, you know, to these eclipses, to evolve, to get to the next step. So
that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's powerful. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will get Jo back again for another session on the Guiding Star Astrology channel sometime a bit sooner, perhaps, than the next eclipse. It'd be lovely to have you back again and talk about other pertinent topics, Jo. So thank you, everyone, and happy eclipse.